Super FM 92.7, your one family, one radio. My name is OSYB. You can call me Ayodele Ogunshusi, or you can call me God's favorite OAP. And I'm about to have a conversation with an astute gentleman of the medical profession. He is popularly known on the social media space as the noisy Niger pediatrician, someone who goes around, teaching and helping people understand some really very, very salient issues around healthcare, especially when it comes to children. That's what pediatricians do. They talk about healthcare. Now, let me give you a quick background, a very short one, that talks about Dr. Ayodele Renner. He is a consultant pediatrician with 11 years of experience. He is also a social media influencer and health content creator known as the Noisy Niger Pediatrician on Instagram, where he shares free healthcare information and education with over 148,000 followers. Well, I think it's about 169,000 as at this morning, reaching 3 million accounts monthly. He's Nigeria's most influential voice in childcare and child health, partnering with notable brands like GTB, Nestle, and Sanofi. Of course, Dr. Renner is co-founder of AGNOSYS Care and Demand, a digital health platform providing tech-driven health solutions. He's been nominated for several awards, including the Force of Wellness and Health Influencer of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me make welcome Dr. Ayodele Renner, who is the guest today on Health and Wellness. Of course, it's good to have you on the show today.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adele, for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. Hello, listeners.
Okay, so it is beautiful. It is beautiful to have. I can hear a voice in the background. I'm guessing that is feedback from a radio or something. Can we turn it off, please?
Okay, yeah. Yes, just see if I can get rid of that.
Okay, so
okay, is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. Thank you very much. Great. So, Dr. Ayodele, of course, should I just call you the noisy Niger pediatrician?
You can call me Dr. Renner, actually.
Okay, Dr. Renner.
It's less of a mouthful.
Okay, Dr. Renner. But then people listening know this is the voice of the noisy Niger pediatrician.
Yes.
Okay, so today we want to talk about healthcare. We want to talk about healthcare, and of course, we're talking about developmental delays in children. And of course, there are a lot of signs that will lead to this. When you give birth to a child, by the time a child is 3 months or 2 months old, there are certain things that your children should start to do. But then, as a parent or as a first-time parent, or even as a parent who has never experienced such, you might not know what to expect. So, Dr. Renner, where do you start to notice, or when in the life of a child do you start to notice developmental delays, and how can you nib it in the bud? That's where I want us to start from.
Okay. So I think you made a very great introduction. Development, of course, is one of the most important milestones, or most important domains in which a child should actually achieve, one of which being growth. So growth is kind of different from development. Growth is the sense that the child is actually increasing in weight, in height, and its physical attributes.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to development, we're thinking more along the lines of certain neurological, which by that I mean the nervous system. The nervous system and the brain are allowing the child to transition from young adulthood and into childhood and even into adulthood. And so we're looking at various domains of development, and these include the gross motor
skills,
mental milestones, and then we have the fine motor, and then we have the social, and then we've got the language. And all these domains together come to form a child that is fully whole, fully developmentally sound. And these are the areas that we look at. Now, when it comes to when you begin to notice a delay in development of a child, in general, you can actually start to notice delay in development very early as 6 weeks, because you find out that by 6 weeks, a child should actually be having what we call a social smile, in which the child is smiling responsively to a person who is smiling at it or who is making a face at it. So somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks, they should develop that. But if they fail to develop that by at least the second month of life, some people give them a leeway and say by the third month of life, which is somewhere around 12 weeks, then there's definitely the developmental delay problem there. But again, these are very subtle signs. And the reality is that a lot of parents, first-time parents particularly, might not notice some of these subtle signs, which is why we always emphasize well child visits, well baby visits, such that when you come to us during the well baby visits, we ask you a few questions on the checklist to say, is your baby doing this at this point? Is your baby doing this? And if your baby is not doing that, then we raise a red flag early enough to see if perhaps this is just a variation such that the child will later achieve these milestones. But
Yeah.
if it is not, then we have to monitor and follow the child very closely. Because sometimes we lose the children to follow up because the parents don't come for these well baby clinics and they might not really notice until it's a bit late for us. So developmental delays can appear as early as 6 weeks because I mean these are children with personalities, they've got brains, they are curious about the environment, they're
Yeah.
looking around and trying to see what really is going on and
Yeah.
obviously contributes to the development.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Renner, for making that quick introduction about and the start on developmental delays. Now, we need to go on a quick break, but then, Lagos, if you're listening, you have questions about developmental delays in your kids, you can send a WhatsApp message right now to 0705 6900 We head on a quick break, but when we come back, we will be continuing the conversation with Dr. Renner. So stay tuned to Super FM 92.7. We'll be right back. Point 7, your one family, one radio station, reaching you live from Lagos City, Nigeria. We are having a conversation with Dr. Ayodele Renner, the noisy Niger pediatrician, who is, of course, known for making information open about healthcare, especially when it comes to children. That is his forte, sort of. And of course, he has reached quite a number of people through the social media space. And you can find him on Instagram to see what we're talking about. But right now, he's having this conversation with us on Super FM 92.7. 92.7. It's good to have you back, Dr. Renner.
Thank you very much, Ideally.
Okay. So, yes, you've been able to establish that developmental delays could come up in any form. It could be certain things that are supposed to happen at certain milestones in the lives of a child. You talked about the fact that at 6 weeks, the child should be smiling back at you, at least interacting with you, making eye contact, and probably following you about with all of this simple, very, very connotative interactions with you that shows that, oh, I can now see you. I can see that you're smiling at me. I can hear that you're trying to giggle and laugh to make me also excited. Now, if we do not see the children at this certain ages, maybe at the 6 weeks mark, at the 3 months, well, one thing that we've heard commonly is that at 3 months, the neck of a child should be balanced. You know, that's for a baby. I hear it a lot because I'm from the Yoruba race, and my mother and my sisters and everybody will, the baby's neck should be set at this point. She should be able to sit on their own at this point. You know, are there cause for us to be afraid? And is that even a fact that at 3 months, these children should have at least control of their necks by that time?
Well, in general, I feel like in this part of the world, maybe not, but I really know what the experience of other people in other cultures might be. But I think we do tend to put a lot of pressure on parents and the babies to achieve certain milestones much earlier than they're expected to.
Okay.
Physiologically, you know, in the natural course of things. So the first thing is that all developmental milestones have time frames. There's no developmental milestone that universally occurs at a particular age. So, for instance, we expect that the baby should begin to control or hold up their necks somewhere between 3 and 5 months. It doesn't have to be 3 months. So the fact that they're not holding up their necks at 3 months is not necessarily a delay. If, however, they are not holding up their necks by 5 months, then it's considered to be a delay, and then we put up a red flag and begin to monitor closely and try to determine why that might be the cause. So it's always a range, and these ranges have been well established over centuries, over decades, through research, through observation of children. So when people come and say that, oh, okay, so by 6 months, your baby is not sitting down without support, that's a little bit precocious. We give them a range of somewhere between 6 months and 8 months.
Okay.
So we say, okay, you know what, even if by 8 months, or even if by 6 months, they are not sitting down without support, give them time, they will learn the skills. Although there are things that people can actually do to help them to achieve certain types of milestones more easily. So, for instance, the speech milestones, children can only actually, acquire speech from hearing other people talk. And so talking to the children, making sounds to them, making sure that, you are talking to them, continuously. And when you know what's going on, they begin to imitate your sounds, they begin to say the words that you are saying as well. And so those are some of the ways in which you can actually encourage babies to actually achieve certain milestones, just by making sure that, their muscles are strengthened. And which of course brings me to the point of walking. So walkers actually don't help children walk faster. If anything, it might actually delay walking.
Oh, wow. Walkers don't help children. Sorry to cut you. Walkers don't help children walk faster.
No, they don't.
I believed otherwise for the longest time.
No, they actually don't have to help children to walk faster. Research has proven that they actually cause a slight delay in development of their ability to walk. That's because they are aiding the children to move around. It's almost like, using a walking aid. So the children are really not using their muscles, and their muscles are really not training themselves to actually do the work of the walking.
Okay.
The walker is just helping the children to move around. So it's a thing that I think is in the minds of the parents to say that, oh, let's just put the child in a walker and to help them to walk more quickly. But no, research has proven that actually it might slightly delay how quickly a child might walk. So these are some of the things that subtleties that are involved with developmental milestones.
Okay, thank you very much for, of course, clarifying and maybe busting some myth about next setting at a particular age. You said between 3 and 5 months. If that doesn't happen, if it doesn't happen within the first 5 months, you do not have to make some alarm. But if in the 5th month the child has still not, the neck is not setting and everything, then you need to see a medical doctor or at least read a red flag. And then you also talked about the sitting and everything. From 6 months and above, if that's not been done, we need to also look out for that. Now, there are some other conversations around, because I'm a parent, recently a parent, and really some of the conversations that I also heard that people were putting out, because there was a lot of information coming in from social media and from, of course, the parents and, cousins and everybody who were just looking to help us raise and notice some things. How early should this is another question that because I heard a lot around it, and this was something that had to do with breastfeeding. And funny enough, I was on your page and I saw your video around breastfeeding. Now, some mothers do not start lactating immediately they have a child, and then some mothers even think they are lactating and the child is breastfeeding, but the child is just there, probably not responding as they should to breastfeeding. But in that window when a child is born, how early will the child, and is it depending on child to child, or is just a general law that at a particular stage the mother should have been lactating and the child should have been breastfed? And are there cases where children do not even want to maybe take their mother's milk and they want something else?
Yes. So the reality is that when it comes to lactation is something that every woman who is giving birth is potentially capable of. And there are things that we can actually do to prime the mother to actually begin to lactate on time. And if we did all those things, then up to 90%, 95% of mothers will actually lactate on time.
Okay.
Yes, there are mothers who will simply not lactate, simply because there's just one physiological variation in their bodies that does not allow them to lactate on time. Sometimes you might not have milk coming until the second week before they actually begin to produce milk. Some might never even actually produce milk. And those are real conditions that require that the mother actually sees a specialist, lactation expert, discusses with her physician and her pediatrician to decide what the way forward for the baby might be. So what we do is that one of the most important strategies for helping the mother to lactate is initiating breastfeeding within the first hour of life, whether it's a cesarean section or it's a normal delivery.
Okay.
We expect that the child should actually be put to the breast of the mother in the first hour of life.
Okay.
That way, the child is still alert, the child is still willing to suck. The mother's body is primed because she has a lot of the hormone that we call oxytocin in her blood, which helps the milk to be let down because the milk is actually already produced throughout pregnancy.
Okay.
So what the process of delivery just does is that it actually helps the milk to be let down because of that surge in the hormone that we call oxytocin, which, by the way, also helps the uterus to contract during delivery. So once this hormone is high during that period in the first hour of delivery and the baby is very alert, that is the best time to actually put the baby to breast. Once you miss that first hour, the hormone sort of like takes a dip, the baby becomes sleepy, and then you have challenges putting the baby to breast because the baby sleep up to 16 to 18 hours in a day. And that's not the baby that you is really interested in, keeping awake for too long. But once you initiate it in the first hour, then the baby and the likelihood of success of lactation is higher. However, despite all this, there are some mothers who will not lactate. While, of course, we know that breast milk is definitively better than any other food source for babies, I must say that if you have discussed with your pediatrician, you've been assessed, and you are not lactating, particularly if the baby is a really large baby and we've monitored the blood sugar and the blood sugar is going down, then formula is an option. I know abroad in the US, what they do is that they just give the baby's formula if the mother is not lactating straight away. But they keep on going back to the mother to say, can you give us some breast milk? Put the baby to the breast to just make sure to see the baby. Because the breast milk that comes out initially is called colostrum, and it is so rich in antibodies, so rich in infection-fighting factors, and so we cannot let that go. So the reason why I'm emphasizing formula is the idea that some practices or some places in Nigeria here would give things like glucose water or things like water and sugar solution, and that is definitely not appropriate because it can cause the child to have tummy infections.
Oh, really?
Them various kinds of yes. So glucose water is a no-no. It is completely unconscionable.
Wow.
For that to be better word. Yes. So glucose water, please. No baby should be getting glucose water. If mother is not lactating and we are sure she's truly not lactating, then formula is the next best thing. But breast milk is always best.
Okay. Thank you very much for doing that much. I really do appreciate you. Now, some of our listeners, of course, are starting to send in messages. This one is... Okay, so this one is a question from a mom, I'm guessing, and she says her name is Chioma from her papa, and she says, at what age should my child start talking, and when should I be concerned about speech delays? That's Chioma from her papa. Of course, thank you so much, Chioma from her papa. Please listen attentively and as the good doctor answers this question.
Okay, so talking is in stages, and babies begin to actually babble and coo somewhere around 6 months. By around 9 to 10 months, they begin to say two-syllable words like dada, mama, that just two-syllable words.
Yeah.
By 1 year, that's between 1 year and 2 years, they begin to actually say one-word sentences. So like come, take, go, carry, so think water, so things like that. And then between 2 years and 3 years, they begin to say 2 word sentences: carry me, take, go home, up NEPA, shut up, praise the Lord. So simple phrases like that. And so while they might not be making like full sentences, at least they should be having those words, those common words. They should be calling the names of people who, I mean, it's so comical sometimes that, when a couple calls themselves, honey or baby, find out that the baby starts to call the dad. Honey,
my daughter calls me babe. By the way, Dr.
So exactly. Exactly. So, side chick things. So it's like, call you babe, call you, and those sorts of things. So those are the milestones that they should be achieving. So they begin to make full sentences at around 3 years of age. However, what I'd say is that if at the end of the first year, your baby is not saying anything at all, so meaning that the child has done 1 year, and then 1 year 6 months, approaching 2 years, and the child is not saying any words at all, then please, you need to go to the hospital to go and report. If you want to be extra super safe, then around 15 months, the child actually should be saying 1 or 2 things. Around 1 year 6 months, which is 18 months, the child should be saying at least a few things. Find out that around 1 year 6 months, the child is absolutely not saying any words at all.
Wow.
And needs an evaluation, because it's a red flag.
Okay, so another question came in, and this one says, my 2-year-old isn't walking yet. Should I be worried? And this one is anonymous, though.
So a 2-year-old that isn't walking yet is a source for concern, because you find out that the upper limit that we kind of give for a red flag for walking is that if by 18 months the child is not walking unsupported, then that is definitely a red flag. Children might actually walk and hold things to move around somewhere between 1 year and 2 years. But if by 18 months they're not walking without support, yes, if he has hit 2 years already and he still needs to walk with support, or is not walking at all, then that definitively is a reason for us to evaluate the child to find out why this might be going on.
Okay. As we wrap things up, because we have about 2 minutes to go on the show, and I want you to just do this because this is a question that I have, and this is a question around proper nutrition. Now, what role does proper nutrition play in a child's developmental journey?
So proper nutrition is literally 3/4 of what the child requires to achieve their developmental milestones adequately, because proper nutrition helps brain development, and of course the brain, as we know, is actually the organ that is for most of what we perceive as development, because it's the nervous system that is interplaying with the environment and environmental exposures, including a loving, nurturing environment, because that too is very essential, because it's one thing for the brain to be able to do its work, another thing for the environment to enable the brain to do its work. Because what we found actually is that if you blindfold a child, right from birth, and eventually they come, into the eyes might not really work the way they're supposed to work, because the environment has not enabled, the use of the organ, to actually facilitate vision. So nutrition is absolutely important, making sure that, of course, exclusive breastfeeding in the first 6 months of life, and then continued breastfeeding until 2 years. Introducing appropriate complementary feeds at 6 months is very important to make sure that the child has the best potential to achieve developmental milestones as it should. While other factors might actually affect whether they achieve these milestones or not, nutrition and adequate nutrition is one of the easiest and the best ways to actually achieve adequate development in children.
Okay, thank you so very much for making out time to be here.